we have any dialogue. So welcome to lecture 2. It says Psych 30, but we're really Psych 36. And we're going to talk about the relaxation response and the 9 attitudes of mindfulness. And I love that I see some of you brought a journal with you to write down your reflections and notes. And I'll give you reflection prompts, because this really is our time to become familiar and comfortable with that most intimate companion in our lives, which is our inner world. There's nobody we spend more time with. So we might as well turn it into a wonderful relationship. Okay, we start with the centering breath. And I'm just going to do a few slides on this to begin with, to introduce us to why we do the centering breath. A lot of times in mindfulness meditations that you listen to online, they will say, no need to change the breath, just relax into the breath. And that's absolutely true. That's one way of exercising. Another way that we do incorporate is conscious, proactive breath exercises. And the reason we do those is to teach ourselves to return to the relaxation response, which is actually the default mode. If you look at hunter-gatherer tribal societies and the animal kingdom, they spend most of their time in the relaxation response. My dog is totally chill right now, right? And there's a book called by Robert Sapolsky that we'll look at called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And zebras don't get ulcers because they don't, when they're pursued by a predator, they run from the predator and their fight or flight response kicks in, but then they quickly relax after the predator is gone. And when the predator is gone, they go into deep relaxation, the place of stillness. We don't, because we get caught up in thought and we worry about the predator coming back. Now, this thought is a great gift. It's a great asset, but it's also something that we need to learn to work with so it doesn't take us over. Those thoughts are like the ripples on the top of the ocean. Now, so we do practice the relaxation breath, and we'll begin our class with a centering relaxation breath. One of the things that the relaxation breath does is it induces the relaxation response, which is our natural state of being. It's our body's natural ability to relax. And since we probably spend a lot of time in stress because we're worried about things, and we hear the word stress all the time on the news, even the repetition of the word stress can trigger us feeling stressed. So I'm going to be using much more in our class words like relaxation and space, because what we want to do is practice. What this gives us is the ability to create space between the things that are stressing us out and ourselves. So we have a little bit of a buffer there. That buffer enables us to not be reactive to everything, right? When my husband says something that I feel annoyance by, if there's a little bit of space, I can calm down my annoyance, soothe it, and then respond from a kind and loving place. But if there's no space, then it's his annoyance hitting my annoyance, and then they turn into a crash, right? So we want to be able to consciously cultivate this very natural relaxation response that, because of the human mind, which is a new thing, we can get flipped out of. Now, we're going to look at 2 Harvard psychologists today. One of them is Herbert Benson, who wrote this book, The Relaxation Response. And if you look him up, you'll see his books and materials online. But what it is that he realized quite some time ago, like 30 years ago, he started writing about this, that if we breathe a certain way, we can naturally get our bodies to relax. And this is why the Navy SEALs train themselves to breathe this way all the time, because it creates a natural state of relaxation in the body. It activates what is referred to as the parasympathetic nervous system. Has anybody heard of this? The parasympathetic nervous system? Okay, so we're going to look at our nervous system and how it's structured. All the nerves that run through your body. You have 2 kinds of nerves. One kind of nerve enables you to feel things and move your body. So it's the sensory motor nervous system. The other nervous system is called the autonomic nervous system. And we'll look at it more closely next time. But It basically runs in the background, and it runs all these systems that if we didn't have an automatic program created by the mind-boggling brilliance of Mother Nature that ran our breathing, that ran our digestion, does all this stuff for us behind the scenes. Absolutely genius systems, self-sustaining. We're just waking up to sustainability, but nature had it figured out a long time ago. The whole system is self-sustaining, right? Self-sustaining. So this automatic system is like the gas pedal and the brakes on your car. It's either on or off, on or off. And when it's relaxed off, it's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So we'll take a look at the two states. And in particular, this is the autonomic nervous system. So when you see all the nerves running through your body that are connecting your stomach to your heart, to your brain, to your liver, to your spleen, all these different organs are connected by the nervous system. And the nervous system is in one of two states. We either have an arousal state going on or a low arousal state going on, or somewhere in between. You could put a scale here, whether you're low arousal or high arousal. And when we're in high arousal, it's called the sympathetic nervous system. Just a medical term. It means that we have a lot of energy going on. We're using energy. And when we use energy, like me moving my hands around, the energy of our blood flow has to go to the peripheral part of our body so that we can move. And when we relax, the energy can go to the interior. So when we relax, it can go to our digestive system and our immune system. This is why when you're relaxed is when your immune system is most functioning. When you're energized, when you're doing stuff, whether you feel good or bad, fun energy, stressed out energy, and being stressed out does use energy, and it does put the energy into the exterior part of your body, because your arms, your hands, your legs, because fight or flight is about energy in the hands to fight, and flight is energy in the legs to run. So when we're stressed, we've got energy going to our hands and our feet, and basically what that energy wants us to do is move, to do something to meet needs or to survive, right? Energy. But when we're relaxed, the energy goes within. So you can see here, that's why the sympathetic nervous system is often associated with fight or flight, because it is related to fight or flight, but it also includes when you're having a blast, when you're having a good time, when you're getting excited. You're also experiencing sympathetic arousal, but with low stress hormones, right? Not much cortisol and just the right amount of adrenaline, positive emotional valence. But when you're negative stressed out, when you're overwhelmed or upset or anxious or angry, then we're in the state of fight or flight. And again, fight or flight wants us to move. This is why exercise is, and getting out of nature can help with stress so much, right? But then you come back to the same mind that's thinking the same scary thoughts that stresses you again. So we have to work with both the mind and the body. So when we're in the parasympathetic state, when we're relaxed, our heart rate goes down, which puts less stress on the body. We have increased stomach activity, so digestion and the increase of serotonergic neurotransmitters, serotonin in your stomach. And we store glucose, and our immune system is operating at peak, as well as when you're in deep sleep. So deep sleep, stage of deep sleep is also the most peak time that your immune system is functioning and instituting repair. And that's why sleep is so important. And the stage of deep sleep is so important. We'll talk about that more when we get to the mindful sleep. So we've got these two systems, the on system, which is sympathetic, and the relaxed system. It's not really the brakes, but it's slowing down, relaxing. And the parasympathetic, for it to work, as you can see from this slide, we kind of need to have positive emotions going on, because if a negative emotions go on, we're moving into the stress system, because negative emotions stimulate the fight or flight. And next week, we'll look at the fight or flight part of your brain, how that part of your brain is different from other parts of your brain and gets you to think differently. So if you look at this kind of image, and here's something for you to throw in the chat. if you were rock climbing like this, would that be fun or stressful for you? In other words, would the emotional valence be positive? Would this be exciting and cool and, just the right amount of fear, which is why we like roller coasters and going out on dates and stuff. It's just the right amount of fear versus so much fear that we feel overwhelmed or stressed out by the situation. So sympathetic arousal is when we're exerting energy, whether we feel like it's fun or stressful. It takes a lot more energy when we feel stressed out, because fight or flight is designed to really surge your body with chemicals that make you move, which is why when we feel stressed and we don't move around, we feel more stressed. It creates a feedback loop. Stress also stores in our muscles. So we need to move it into our bloodstream from our muscles to get it flushed out of our body. Otherwise, it's sending the signal back up to our brain that we're stressed, right? So either fun or not fun, it's parasympathetic, but it uses more sympathetic. My apologies, that was a mistake. It's sympathetic, but it's even more energy. It uses more energy for us to have negative emotions going on at the same time. So would this be fun or stressful for you? Is a fun thing to look at relative, because it just shows you, for one thing, it shows perspective about how we approach things. Would it be exciting or would it be too scary? You'd never want to try it, kind of thing. I probably not want to do that, but I'd love to rock climb. But my husband wouldn't. He would find he doesn't like heights. Okay, so sympathetic arousal, our body's on switch, is designed to get us moving to do these things, meet needs, including needs for social connection, right? That's why you go to a dance and you find it fun, because needs for social connection and bonding, which is a core human need, right in there with food and water and air, okay, and safety, right? To protect ourselves from danger and to deal with a threat. So you can see that it gets our body ready for action, releases adrenaline, our blood level goes up, our liver releases glucose, and then when we finish expending energy, we start to feel hungry, right? We want to get something to eat. So it has major effects. We release cortisol, but the biggest thing to remember is that when you're in sympathetic arousal, all the energy is going to the extremities of your body, your hands and legs and outward, and that we need to cultivate parasympathetic state and even cultivate it to the point of living in it most of the time in order to support our immune system and our digestive system. And our digestive system is core to our mental health, since so much serotonin is made in the gut. Okay. Stress is the state of being in high sympathetic arousal with negative emotional valence. Emotional valence is the emotional tone, whether it's a painful emotional tone or a pleasurable emotional tone, right? So too much anger or fear is way overly in the state of stress. So that's why we want to use these different tools, and that's why you were drawn here. One of the reasons, of many, I'm sure, some of them mysterious, that you were drawn here to connect with that ability that you have naturally within yourself, more natural than the stressed out state, more natural. It's more your nature to be in a state of relaxation than in the stressed out state. So we're returning to our nature, right? You are also nature, like this beautiful creature here, and we are returning to our nature. But we can get in the habit of being in too high a sympathetic arousal, and it's really easy to do. We're saturated by media, and media gets our attention through alarm. Alarm gets our attention. Alarm, urgency, worry, fear, because of the negativity bias of the brain that we talked about last time. That grabs us, that sticks. And so the media naturally uses it because it's trying to meet its need of getting people to watch the programs. So it uses sympathetic arousal to get your attention. So if we're always being connected to media, then we are consistently being given that jolt of, oh no, what next? What should we do? And then we live modern society is a very fast-paced society. And so it creates that habit of constantly thinking about what's next, what do I have to get done, go, 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 right? And that go, go, go wears us out. It also creates almost a discomfort because of a lack of familiarity with being able to relax in our parasympathetic nervous system, to just really be able to relax and just float, right? So again, we want to remember that there's a vested interest in cultivating this system, because this is when our digestion and immune system focus the most. And notice that when you see a child like this child's in distress, this child's in fight or flight, basically. They're in fear and upset, and we can tell that they're in distress, and we have a natural impulse to wanting to soothe that child's distress. And I want to encourage you to have the same natural impulse, to touch on that same natural impulse to want to soothe. This is suffering. You can see clearly this is suffering, that the child is suffering, is hurting. That's a difficult place to be in. And so we reach out and we want to comfort that child. And it is the same with us, with you. When you are feeling this inside yourselves as grown-ups, as adults, we are much better at masking it, as not expressing all that on our face, at hiding it. But it's still suffering. It's difficult. It's challenging. And so we want to cultivate within ourselves a willingness and a desire to soothe and relieve our own distress, to calm and help it feel better. So the relaxation response breath is the breath that you've already learned. It's the breathing in to the count of 4, holding for a count, opening and sitting. You'll find yourself rising to enable yourself to breathe better to a position of dignity, both in terms of your spine and your chin, which opens your airways. And then releasing to the count of 4. And what you're doing is you're tuning in to your autonomic nervous system, and you're actually developing a relationship with your breath system. And you're reminding it because you've asked it for so long, not because you wanted to, but because you're in a cultural context that sets you up to get in the habit of doing this. For so long, you've been dealing with, going at such a fast pace, which sets us up to breathe too quickly. Number of great teachers. So you'll get to meet a wealth of extraordinary mindfulness and meditation teachers and forefront leaders. And one of the great ones is Jon Kabat-Zinn, who's over at Harvard. And he started the mindfulness-based stress reduction, the Center for Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction at the Harvard Medical School way back in the 1970s. He started doing research on this. So he was one of the pioneers. And you might be surprised to know that almost all of the major four-year universities have mindfulness and meditation centers and institutes on campus. So I'm really thrilled to be offering this here at Butte. We don't have it as much at the 2-year college level, but they are at the 4-year schools. This is because of the research that supports and documents the value of this. It's research-based. So obviously Harvard, Kabat-Zinn, research-based scientists. And the second meditation option in the meditation and mindfulness log is a mindfulness practice by Jon Kabat-Zinn. Today, we're going to look at this video of his 9 attitudes of mindfulness, which are really beautiful. And I think something we want to absorb now at this early phase of the course, so we know sort of the intention that we approach this with. And this is a lovely short video where he talks about these. And I want to encourage us, at the end of each one, he sort of closes his eyes and they ring a bell. So let that be a cue for us to invite us to do a nice ride the wave of our breath, right? Do a nice deep breath while it goes in between. Just enjoy these, right? Am I going the wrong way? There we go. The first one is child's mind. This is my favorite one today, the one I was most drawn to today. And child's mind, interestingly, is the real meaning of the Fool card and the tarot cards. Being open to new things, seeing life fresh and new without all the judgments from the past that we accumulate in our mind and project onto the thing. So that's what makes a snail crawling up a tree boring, because we've heard of the word snail, maybe we studied snails. But if we really look at a snail, we find that it is extraordinary. And we can step back and set our judgments aside, our ideas aside. And the ideas and perspectives and knowledge and insight are all valuable. It's not like those things aren't good to have. They are good to have. But we also have the ability to see life afresh. We don't want our knowledge to deaden the thing, right? Our talking about the tree, we also want to experience the tree. This is what we want with the people that we love as well. I'm sure that there are people who project onto you assumptions from the past about how you might have been in the past, and you wish they could see you now. Well, child's mind opens our eyes to really seeing. Non-judging is a really interesting one, and we're going to touch on each of these one a week for the next 9 weeks, starting next week. So we'll have time to go more into depth and tease apart, because it's a little tricky to understand the judging part. Because of course we need to judge, and our mind automatically judge. We're sort of designed to decide if we like something or if we don't like it. I like coffee, I don't like tea, right? So our mind is automatically doing that so that we can be aware of our preferences. But then we can project those preferences onto everything else. And that means we see it from a distorted lens. This is kind of reflecting the opposite in this picture. But basically, non-judgment gives us the fresher glasses. It gives us the clear glasses with which to see. And it's, again, you could think of this as a yin yang. It's not like we're eliminating our knowledge and information, but we're realizing that it's a limited picture. And to flesh out the picture, we also need to be willing to set judgment aside. And I like to change out judgment for curiosity. When I catch myself judgment, I like to take a step back into child's mind and approach with curiosity and wonder. And I'll give you some examples of that when we cover non-judgment, the week we cover non-judgment. Then we have acceptance. And acceptance is, John Kabat-Zinn said, is an active process. It's a releasing, it's an accepting. And I like to use the example of the printer breaking, or anything happens where, last night, I just remembered talking to you guys. Last night, I drove around this driveway and my car hit something that punctured the tire. And by the time I got home, it was completely flat. And I mean, like within a block. So first, there's the being annoyed that this happened, because we have an automatic response in our bodies that we get annoyed with goal frustration. And that just sort of is a knee-jerk reaction. But that is something, once we accept that this is what's happened, then we start to handle it. Then we start to solve the problem. But you'll notice that there's that period often when something happens, when we're annoyed that we don't like this, that it happens, and we're in resistance to accepting that it happens. I'm so mad this happened is the process of being in resistance. Now we have the energy that comes up that is automatic from goal frustration, which is, I want to get home with my car intact and not have to buy a new tire. But, and we can feel accumulated pressure from goal frustration where it gets to be too much and we need to have the pressure valve relieved. But many times there's a phrase, don't sweat the small stuff, be willing to first accept, this is how it is. My tire's punctured. I'm going to have to deal with it. And then we can let go of the angry feelings. We can let them, we can release them. We can acknowledge them. We don't pretend like they didn't happen, that we don't have this kind of experience as an avatar human being. But then we can let it go. And letting go takes lots of forms, because grasping and clinging takes lots of forms. One of the simplest forms is that we let go all the time when we release our breath. So it gives us the opportunity to practice, and also shows us the yang, taking the breath in, and yin, releasing it and letting it go of the breath. The yang is the active principle, and the yin is the more relaxed principle, the non-striving principle. So grasping and clinging, I can cling to the idea that that shouldn't have happened. But the thing is that it did. So we argue against what life already is, and that's a little bit futile, right? Well, it's not a little bit, it's completely futile. So it already happened, so it already is. So arguing against what it is futile. It's something our mind gets caught up in. So acceptance of what is the idea, and then letting go and allowing what is to be. We can then act to change. And we can act to change with more energy because we're not clinging to the resistance of not being happy that it happened. We let that go, right? So there's many things that we can let go of. And he used the metaphor of the monkey reaching for the banana. And if he'd open his fist and allow, then his hand could remove. But clinging onto the banana, he can't get his hand out. So it leaves us stuck. So you could reflect on, what is a banana that you can let go of? And when you see a banana, you can let that be a reminder about the letting go. What is it that would be good to let go of today? What are we clinging onto too tightly that we can release and let our shoulders relax and let it go, let it flow? And then trust. Trust is a beautiful thing to cultivate. And John talks about cultivating trust beginning with ourselves and noticing that our body comes through for us all the time, right? This is you, this is your body, this is you, this is your body coming through for you, breathing for you, digesting food for you, transforming something that you ate into you and energy for you to use, right? Your ears working for you, your eyes working for you. So we begin to just notice and develop some gratitude for our body and the realization that we can count on our body the vast majority of time. Most of our lives, we can greatly count on our body. The next one is patience. Our mind automatically goes into, especially in our fast-paced society, we absorb the pace by osmosis. It's contagious. And we get in cars that move quickly. We have deadlines. We have lots of things on our list. The more technology, the faster we can do things. So our mind goes to next. And so that leads us to feeling impatient because we feel like we have to get to the next thing. So we can help teach our mind and ourselves that we can take a breath. Let's all take a breath. And we can relax and we can allow. We can allow things to unfold in their own time. We can't force a blossom to bloom. We can trust in the allowing of things. And this leads us to patience. We can allow this moment to be. Now, non-striving is interesting. This is the very yin-yang principle in that yin is action, yang is action, forward movement. You know, it's the striving, it's putting energy. It's not necessarily with a must, but it's working toward achieving a specific outcome. It's putting action forward. And then acceptance and non-striving is relaxing and allowing the world to unfold. This is moving into the Tao. When you heard of the Tao of life, it's moving, it's going with the flow of life. That's non-striving. The idea of if you need to get somewhere fast, moving quickly but never hurry, that would be non-striving versus giving up, which is like not bothering. Acceptance is more moving with intention, but moving with the flow of life, right? And then gratitude, the two he added, one was gratitude, being grateful for the present moment, being grateful for the small things. It's wonderful to keep a gratitude journal. We will do that during the week that we do a dive into gratitude, when that's our mindfulness practice for the week, is gratitude. And gratitude is brilliant to cultivate as like a constant state of mind. What can you be grateful for now? And if you all want to just go ahead and jump into the chat and write something down that you are grateful for right now. What is something that you are thankful for right now? Sometimes when we're having a bad day, it's hard to come up with something we're grateful for. And so you can think about what's going right. What's going right in your life right now? For example, are you warm? Is the electricity on? Do you have food to eat? Do you have someone who cares about you? These are a lot of things going right already, things that we can be grateful for. Now, gratitude puts us into what's known as the green brain state, which is a super healthy, super creative, super high functioning brain. So cultivating gratefulness as a state of mind is a very healthy and high functioning thing to do. And then generosity, being generous spirited. You know, how powerful it is, he says, when you give yourself over to life, when you make your life an offering to life, right? Honoring the interconnectedness of all things, we'll be looking at that, and connecting and living from your heart. So if you haven't already, if you could note in the chat, which of these was most moving to you? Which one were you most touched by? Which ones did you appreciate the most? Which ones did you most enjoy? Which one of these lessons are you most looking forward to? Not sure what I did here. Figure out what I did. Okay. I keep doing that. That's not what I want to do. There we go. All right. Okay, so which one of these are you most drawn to? And again, we'll be doing one a week. So one of these will be our mindfulness theme for the week. Now, I love this, that he said this, and in Asia, that when they refer to mind, it's also referring to the heart. And these two are so profoundly and beautifully connected. So we'll learn that the brain emits waves, but the heart also emits waves. We measure the brain waves with the EEG, and now they have a machine where they can measure the radio waves of the heart. And the radio waves of the heart actually are more powerful. They go out more than the radio waves of the brain that we can measure. And the heart and brain are intimately connected. There's also neurons in the heart that they have discovered, neuroscientists have discovered, that are the same as neurons in the brain, meaning they're thinking neurons. So this is a very exciting finding that we're discovering. So for meditation lesson number 2, which we'll do in a few minutes, I want to just talk to you a little bit about surfing the breath and the light of awareness. This light of awareness within you is really what you are. That light of awareness can put its awareness on your hands. It can put its awareness on your eyes and what you see. It can put its attention on anything. It can put its attention into imagination and float into the imaginary world. Okay, so this light, it can put its attention on your thoughts. It can observe your thoughts. So what we do with meditation is we work to become tuned in, one with the light of awareness within us. We can think about our mind. I don't know why it's doing this. I don't want to edit this. We can think about our mind as like a house with many rooms. So we can go into the happy room and think about something that makes us happy, and we'll feel happy. We can go and reflect on something. We can shine our light of awareness on something that makes us feel sad, and then we will begin to feel sad. And we will be talking about how we can shine the spotlight of our awareness in different ways. And usually the spotlight of our awareness is pretty much taken place to place by our focus on the outside world, and our basically be taken for, it's taken place to place without us realizing that we can choose where to put our awareness. And so we're moving in meditation to that seat of inner awareness. And this brings us back to what we talked about in the beginning, that our mind is like an ocean. And that while thought, we can think about thought and emotions really as on the surface, and it can be smooth or mellow or somewhat turbulent and crashing waves. It can be all kinds of, but we can learn through meditation to do these deep dives to the center where our awareness lives. And when we meditate over time, as we get used to it, at first we're looking all around going, what's going on here? Oh, there's tons of thoughts. There's lots of waves on the top of the water. All those thoughts. Oh, there's emotions, the fish floating around. But as after a while, we relax and we can start to see that we can rest down here. And that's why they talk about abiding in awareness, that you can rest in awareness. And another thing that I'm going to lead you to in this meditation is to an exercise of just riding and surfing with your breath, which is gently approaching, like we'll close our eyes and we'll relax and we'll move into focusing on our breath or tuning into our breath. But we don't want to just like stare at our breath. What we want to do is drop into our breath, sort of approach it like you would a shy kitten in the corner of the room, gently, patiently, and then sort of just join with it and flow with it and allow the breath to take you on a ride the sensations of the feelings of your breath as we breathe in and breathe out, right? So we're not just looking at the breath, we're actually merging with the breath and attuning with the breath, joining with the breath in this meditation. And this helps us over time as we get more and more familiar. It helps us drop down and join and rest in the field of awareness. Okay, so now I will lead us. This is the second meditation, but of course that will be posted on the meditation and mindfulness website.